All right. Now I have my image files. What I want you to look at is that these files have more than just names. So I'm just going to zoom in on this quickly just so you can see. You don't need to change your view options. We'll get into advanced file organization a little bit later. But here are my files. Some of them have what are called watermarks on them, right? Especially the ones from Google that are copyrighted. They might be high resolution, but they might have watermarks all throughout them. This one is a JPEG, JPG at the end. You'll see dot and then a digital file tag. That digital file tag should never be erased. It's what allows the computer to know how to open the file. Here I have PNG. These are the two most common types of images you'll find online, JPEG and PNG. They are both compression formats, which means they lose data every time they are changed and saved. But they are pretty small in memory, so they're good for websites. A new type of file you'll see which takes up more memory is called a web photo file. This cannot be edited in the way we need to in our programs. So we need to do something if we see file formats that are different than JPEG or PNG. This is what we need to do. We need to double click them, open them in preview, just the default image viewer. And you can do this on a PC with Windows Image. And you can see this has some watermarks in it. Those are no problem. We can fix that. What we need to change is that file format. These are digital file formats. So what I do is I say File, Export, and we're going to save it as a different format. It's going to go to Downloads. I can always do Command D and do it to the desktop. And now I'm going to change it to JPEG or to PNG, one of those two. You can keep all the defaults. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this web photo and put that in my junk drawer, in my Downloads folder. Then Downloads folder is in your dock next to your trash can. Remember, our desks have two folders, a junk drawer and a locked drawer. Documents is for locked files. Downloads is for junk. Then I'm going to take it off my desktop and I'm going to drag it into my exercise 1 folder. And now you see that it doesn't have an image file tag. And because JPEG and PNG are so common, these are the two formats that you actually don't need one, as long as they actually are a JPEG or a PNG. The web photo, it might have saved to your Downloads folder. All right, so make sure that you only have JPEGs and PNGs. The other type you might find is the earliest type of image file. It's called a graphic interchange format or a GIF. If you have a GIF image, you can do the same thing. You can open it up in preview, save it as a JPEG. The problem with GIFs is they're limited to only 256 pixel colors, which doesn't really matter for black and white, but it also, GIFs have something called pixel slippage that happens. And kind of arbitrarily, a line of pixels will move 1 pixel. And that's not good for what we want. So it's better to change it to a JPEG or a PNG. Once all of them are JPEGs or PNGs, you are ready to do the next step. And if you ever want review of how to do this, even though you're doing it with me right now, you can just follow these step-by-step instructions that I put into the exercise. So right now, we are now on step 3. And we're going to start bringing these into this program called Photopea, right? So it's linked in the assignment. It's also under our course links. You're probably going to bookmark it as well, but we're going to open a new tab. We can just open it right here, or you can just type in a new tab, photopea.com. This is the screen you want. I'm just going to show you how similar this is to Photoshop. This is a clone of Photoshop. And if you want to use Photoshop in this class, you can. The issue is, the reason I teach it on Adobe products in the morning and then Freeware in the afternoon is so that you don't have to keep logging in and out of Photoshop accounts, right? So this is Photoshop. This is what a new file in Photoshop looks like. Boom. This is what a new file in in Photopea looks like. Same tools, same layer setup, same options. This is just all contained within the browser. So everything I'm teaching you here, you can also do in Adobe Photoshop if you have Creative Cloud and want to use it. If you're using Creative Cloud in the classroom, what I need you to do is when you open it, I need you to click on Help, see who's signed in, and sign them out, and then you sign in yourself. Right? Do not create Adobe work on someone else's Adobe account. And all you need to create an Adobe account on these site licenses is just an email address. That's your own. Okay, but do not use Photoshop if you're just learning and you don't have access to Photoshop on your own devices at home. Because we're the freeware class. Let's use Photopea. So we opened Photopea. We're not even going to do what I just did. We're just going to be at the first page. So photopea.com. And if you want to, this is very helpful in the class, you can hit Command D. Thought that would work. And that should save it as a bookmark. I'm not sure why that didn't work. But anyway, we can bookmark the page if you want to. But if not, it's linked. It's everywhere. So photopea.com. How do we start this? Well, if we follow the directions, we start by creating a new file, right? And we want it to be at least 8 by 10 inches at 300 pixels per inch. But this shows you a different way of doing it to teach you about images. So just bear with me, and then I'll show you the right way to do it. So it's very tempting where it says drop any file here or open from computer to just go to your favorite image. Let me say this one. I like that chimera quite a bit. And then just drag and drop it in. And then we're off and running. The problem is this looks good on the screen, but this tells me nothing about what the pixels of this image actually are. And so we have to learn what the pixels are. So in order to do that, I have to go to image size, and it will show me its pixel dimensions. So this is 1104 by 1200 by 150 pixels per inch. And to see it, if it's actually going to fit the parameters for my project, I need to make it at least 8 by 10 inches by at least 300 pixels per inch, because that is print resolution. So I would change this from pixels to inches, and I would see that it's 7 by 8 inches, but then I would uncheck resample so it doesn't actually create or delete pixels. And then I would change the 150, which it says is DPI, which is short for dots per inch, which is incorrect because that's what printers use to print. What this is PPI, which is pixels per inch, and it is 300, but I can't complain because this is free software. And then I say okay. And it didn't change anything there except it made it so that I know it is print quality at 300 pixels per inch. And it shows me that I can print this image at full print quality up to 3.6 inches by 4 inches. That's a lot. I don't want my image to be 3 by 4. I want it to be at least 8 by 10. So then what I need to do is go to image. Image. Sometimes I have a heavy hand here. Canvas size. Canvas size is how you create your pixel space. Image size is how you change the pixels of an actual image. So the pixel space, like the paper I want this to be on, I'm going to turn this into 8 by 10 inches, not pixels, because 8 by 10 pixels is not very much. And I'm going to grow it from the middle behind this image and grow space for it. And then I am able to adjust it. So instead of doing it that way, the much better way to work digitally is to know from the beginning what your end product is. The dimensions of it, the resolution of it. Everything we make in this class, by definition of our student learning outcomes, has to be able to be printed, right? So we always need a minimum of 300 pixels per inch and a minimum of 8 by 10 inches. So I'm going to close this, and instead of opening an existing file, I'm going to say new project. And instead of doing any of their templates, which they really love to push on you, right? Or their YouTube thumbnails or their Instagram standards, all of those are based on screen sizes. None of those are for printing. So we need to put in first the name of our project. This is good from the very beginning. And we start with our name, a dash, and then a description. This is exercise number 1. This is our line art jumble. Max can have very long names. This is the afternoon section for me because I'm also doing it in the morning. And this is spring 2025. All right. Once you have a name, just make sure your name is in it. Then, instead of doing the width and height in pixels, I'm going to do it in inches because I want you to understand and connect it to the physical dimensions of our print. And we are going to make it minimum of 8 inches wide, 10 inches tall. Then I'm going to go to what they call the DPI, which is incorrect. It's PPI, to the pixels per inch. And what is the standard minimum print resolution? 300. So I need at least 300. So that is the minimum. If you want to go a little bit extra, which allows you to print a little bit bigger than this size, and maybe print that size, right? Then you can make it bigger than 8 by 10. And so what I usually do, because my computer is strong enough for this, I'll do 11 inches by 14, which is the next standard size up from 8 by 10. As long as it's at least 8 by 10. And then I have something I call my studio resolution. This is my preferred Arts 205 studio resolution. It's 350. That's so we have a little bit of leeway because 300 is the minimum, right? So if I do it 11 by 14 by 350, that's going to give me a pixel space that's a little bit bigger than I need. Question? So you will have the option to print these. When we get to the midterm, you will choose 3 of your projects we've done so far, and you will print those for our midterm critique. We use our print lab to print them because we have to learn how printing works. If you have enough resolution, you can print larger. In this lab, we can print up to 17 by 22 inches. So a lot of the posters you see hung up at the back on the crit rail, those are 17 by 22 inch prints. 11 by 14 is this medium size. Yep. And you'll see these sizes on your supply list because they're kind of the paper sizes we'll need when we get to the midterm. So 8 by 10, 11 by 14, the next is 16 by 20. Those are the 3 standard image sizes. It's always 300 pixels per inch. What changes is the physical inches, right? The number of inches. The reason I'm not doing 16 by 20 here is because that makes Photopea run pretty slow, and 1,000 pixel images are not big enough to fill 16 by 20 at 300 pixels per inch. All right. So now I have 11 by 14. As long as you have 8 by 10, I'm at 350. As long as you're at 300. Now I can just drag and drop files onto it. And when you drag and drop them in, you'll notice under layers, it's like a new file that's put on top of your white background. And you have this little blue box. This is called a transform box. Just like when you change the size of your image in a Canvas post. The transform box allows you to change the size of the image on your canvas. Not only does it allow you to change the size, if you click outside of the box but close to it, it allows you to rotate it. So I might choose to make this one like this. Right? Then if I hit return, and I have to hit return before I can do the next thing, that solidifies that transformation. But you can kind of see it in the window of the layer. It's called a layer preview image. There's a little black square in the corner of that layer preview image. That's because this is a protected image because it came from an external file. It's not something I created within Photopea, it's something I brought in. That's what's called a smart object. It's like when you're in Canvas and you brought in an image into a Canvas discussion, but that image exists somewhere else, right? As long as it's a smart object that's from an external file, you will not be able to edit it. You'll be able to rotate it, size it,